Good morning everybody, welcome back to another film. So an exciting morning for me today. This is my first outing in a trip through the Scottish Highlands and up to the island of Orkney, right off the northern tip of Scotland. Now we're taking a few days to get to our location and we've got about 4 or 5 days on Orkney when we get there, but we're just on the cusp of the autumn period right now and I wanted to stop at one or two wooded areas en route to see what I could find. Now the trees, I'll just rotate that round slowly, the trees, the birches, which are notorious for going golden colours at this time of year, not quite turned yet. There is a little bit of hint of autumn. Bracken definitely on the turn, and there are some mushrooms I've seen, some fungi dotted around as we've been travelling up, so quite a few opportunities today. Now I really wanted to get in this woodland and photograph some of the trees within it, but as you can see it's an overcast day so far, certainly no atmosphere, and as we know, the last video I put out, you really need that atmosphere in most cases to get great images of trees, whether that comes in the form of heavy rain, mist, snow, hoarfrost. But when you've got overcast days such as this, it always tends to get a little bit messy and it's not that easy finding a woodland composition in this light. But I'll keep my eye out, and as I'm walking and looking all the time for opportunities. But it's probably, given the kind of light we've got, it's probably going to be the more intimate stuff that I'm going to be looking at. Certainly excited to get down to the end of this walk where it ends in a beach. A coastal pebbly beach with lots of opportunities down there, I would have thought, with seaweeds and pebbles and textures in rocks. So yeah, really excited to do this little walk this morning and just see what the eye picks up. Long-tailed tits. Little family group. Really quiet. Little delicate little trills. Just foraging above in the canopy. Moving off now. So I decided to take a slight detour past a notice just down there that said viewpoint this way. So who can resist a viewpoint? What's that? That's just landed on my glasses. Probably the remnants of the Scottish midges. There's millions of them up here. Millions and millions at this not this time of year, sorry. Later in the year. Earlier in the year, my goodness, losing the plot. But they've pretty much gone now. It's got a bit too cold for them. But just past a little group of oyster fungi down there, edible fungi as well. But they've gone past the best. They're a bit washed out, so I thought I'd just carry on and see what's at the top of this rather steep hill. Got it all to myself this morning. There's no one on the car park at all. So it's nice just to have the silence. And it really is silent. Onward and upward. Just getting to the viewpoint now. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to spin you around, look at that. Hopefully it translates as well. I wasn't expecting that. That looks like Sullivan, one of the Scottish classics. Sun just coming up, rising behind it into the clouds there. What a stunning mountain. I've never seen that one before. We've driven up here yesterday and not once has that revealed itself on our journey so far. What a beautiful mountain. It's such a wild part of the UK, this. Wherever you look, there's mountains. I've been hearing red deer this morning. We're just entering the rutting season and I can hear them roaring in the distance down the valley, and you can hear the wind coming up the valley as well, but it's very, very still here. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Could spend some time here just sitting. It's funny, in this part of Scotland you never really get away from the telegraph poles. There's houses, just really remote houses just dotted around, and they've gone to all the trouble of putting power to them all. Wherever you look there's a telegraph pole. But apart from that, it feels pretty wild. Right, back to the quest. Let's find some images. I know what you're thinking, or at least I think I know what you're thinking. Some of you will be thinking that these trees have got some potential, and I agree. I think they have. This one here, holding the right hand side, and especially this one here. This fella, lovely bend to it, and then all the little ones dotted around, nice and curvy and bendy. But that inner voice that I talked about recently, it's just not speaking to me on this occasion. I think perhaps it's the footpath that I'm not overly keen on. I like things to look a bit more natural, and it's definitely man-made. So carry on. A raven just about to land in the tree saw me and thought better of it. Anyway, I thought I would kick my first shot off of the day with some autumn colour, and nothing better in this woodland than using bracken. Now I've found a composition and I just pray that I can find it again. I was going to put the camera in and then come back to you and talk you through it, but I thought I'd point it out before I line the camera up. So it is the group sort of, well, loads of it to be fair, but there's a little group here, and I've taken that gamble that I hope I can find the composition that I want, because I've taken a couple of it handheld, but I really feel that I can get the tripod in on this occasion and talk you through the composition. Sometimes you'll have seen on other videos where I hold the camera up to the eye and I move around and I just have the camera on aperture priority, and I just trigger the shutter whenever I see something that appeals to me. Well, I've been doing that, and I've just found something right on the edge of where I think I can get the tripod in, so I'll get that up now and hopefully I can find it again. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I've officially given up. I've got the camera into position, well, I'm saying into position. I cannot find the spot that I originally found handheld. It's just driving me crazy. So I've got the camera in a position that's got a similar composition. I actually think it's the same frond, the same part of the frond, but I just can't get the angle on it. I've been moving the tripod around in all the different various angles and it just looks different somehow. So I'll show you the composition that I'm trying to achieve, and then I'll show you what I did achieve when I was hand holding it. So just get into position here. Hopefully you can see the back of the camera. So, not easy to see, I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I like this frond, the way that it's, try and shade put my body over it if I can. Right, something like that. So I like the way that the fern comes into the frame, and I like the light just catching this upper surface here. And what I did was I underexposed the shot, just taking into consideration the highlighted point. Now this fern's quite nice, but it's just, hang on, sharpen that up, it's quite nice, but it's just not got the same angle on that the other one had. And more of an oblique angle to it rather than flat onto the surface, and it's just got a bit more mood and mystery about it. But I love the way that it all falls out of focus in the background. And on the one that I took handheld, the early part of where the fern enters the frame is also nice and soft as well, with just a critical part in the middle where the highlights catching the frame nice and sharp. Now, in order to get the object nice and sharp, I've got 800 ISO and I'm on f4 and 200th of a second. The lens is my 120mm macro lens. Sometimes you might hear me refer to it as a 100mm macro. That's because for many years I worked with full frame, and my macro for all that time was always 100mm. Now this is a 120mm on the medium format Pentax 645Z. It's the same focal length, the equivalent of a 100mm macro on a full frame camera. So I'll put my handheld version on now so you can have a look at that. So, as you can obviously tell, I've arrived at the beach. Beautiful little spot, very secluded, Scottish little tiny beach. Look at the size of that. Got it all to myself. So I'm going to spend, I don't know, maybe the rest of the morning here, a couple of hours just foraging, looking for compositions. I'm particularly keen to try and find something with these lovely pebbles, and perhaps it's quite common, the bladderwrack, but there's some lovely colours. Look how light that is by contrast to this here. I'm sure I can find something in amongst this. Just got to get your eye in and just invest the time looking and not be in too much of a hurry to find something and go. A great place to spend a couple of hours, I'm sure you'll agree. So put everything down and have a bit of a nosy around. Right, picked up the tripod, got the camera down on the floor just over there in a little spot, a nice little simple composition to start with. And as I was walking over there, I'm never going to find it again. There was, I haven't even thought about what it was actually. It was a hawker dragonfly, and I'm pretty sure it was a common hawker. And as I was walking along like this, it flew in front of me and just landed on the pebbles, and I suspect it's probably just flown across the bay there and just desperately needed a rest. So I didn't go out of my way to set the camera up on it with the tripod, because I didn't want to disturb it if it was in need of a rest. No, I can't find it now, and I do know I'm not walking in the place where it was. It was in that little strip of pebbles just here, and I did take a couple of handheld shots of it, really nice. Managed to get right over the top of it, but was quick about it, and it seemed quite happy. But I've left it alone now. Not the most compelling image in the world, but a nice study of the dragonfly, I'd say. I'll put that quickly on now whilst I get my camera into position for this next shot. Right, camera's in position. I just wanted to show you something else first that caught my eye. Just you see the camera there all ready to go, but some lovely patterns in these rocks. Beautiful, beautiful rock patterns, but not easy trying to find something that's really attractive to the eye as a photograph. I always think there's got to be some compelling elements to it, whether it be shapes, textures, contrast, and not just a representation of what you see. I try to make it so that it's not that obvious, not that apparent when you first see the image as to what it is. However, the one that I'm doing is a little bit more traditional. But I did see this initially, first of all, that I really liked. Look at the patterns in that. It's just lovely swirls. And I did originally set my camera up on this, but that crack, that fracture, as natural as it may seem, just tended to take the edge off the quality of the frame to my eye. Now, some of you, I'm sure, watch my videos and are probably convinced, the cynical ones among you will be convinced that I do put things into shots and orchestrate images, but I kid you not, I don't. I very sometimes occasionally take little bits of elements of out dead grasses and things like that, but I don't create images for the simple reason I'm just not very good at it. So what I've found here, which I really like, is this. So we've got a little pool with water in and pebbles, and these two strategically placed pebbles here to the right hand side. And had I orchestrated this, which I haven't, I probably would have preferred these two pebbles to be a little bit more that way, but that's how it is, and that's how I'm going to photograph it. What I am going to try is I'm going to put a polarizer on, because I am a little bit bothered about the white sky reflecting into the little pool there. That bothers me a tiny bit, and I'll probably try an image one with and one without. In terms of my camera, you can see directly over the composition, nice and parallel to the composition, so the camera back is as flat as I can get it to the rock face. Again, this is my 120mm macro lens, and I'm going to take this as a single shot, and I'm going to take it at f16. You see that there, upside down, f16, and it's 1/8 of a second. And 1/8 of a second really doesn't matter, because we've got all day. It could be 2 weeks at f16. For what difference it matters, as long as the tide doesn't come in, I can quite happily get this shot and just take my time over it. So hopefully those colours, those little tiny rocks will come out nicely, and the polarizer will give a little bit of added punch. But I think overall it's a nice start, so I'll put that on now. Right, so my next image I've found, I think my final image, it's going to be this one today, is something that I feel is a little bit more considered. I've been able to, I should say I will be able to take my time over it. I've had a good look at it and it feels right. I wanted to photograph the weed, as you can see with the bladderwrack, and I've spent a lot of time with the camera off tripod looking amongst it, but it's all seemingly much of a muchness, and even when I get the colour contrasts it's much of the same, and you just need the contrast in terms of shapes as well, and it just looks a little bit too cluttered. So I carried on walking along the beach backwards and forwards, and I've got to that end over there and I've found just the contrast that I'm looking for. So we'll get over there now and I'll have a quick look at it. Right, the camera is just set up, well, I'm saying set up, it's positioned near the composition, but I wanted to show you how it's come about first of all. So we've got the edge of the woodland here, or edge of part of the woodland, and it's birches, and there is, as luck would have it, a couple of rowans, and typically this time of year, autumn, starting to drop their leaves. You can see just down in the crannies here, lots of birch leaves, but this one really caught my eye. Can you see it? There's that lovely rowan there with that lovely red colour just positioned in amongst the weed, and that's that contrast that I'm really looking for. I'll just zoom that in. You can start to see the composition come together, and it's got a little bit of a curve to it as well, the leaf that I like. Now sadly it's lost one leaf, and I'm beginning to think that that leaf that's come off might actually help the composition, and it might have been worse for it had it been attached. So probably angle it, something like that, so it's got a nice little flick up at this side. But that's what I'm going to go for, and I love all the different colours of the bladderwrack that it's sort of landed amongst. Right, get the camera out. So I've taken the image and I'm really quite pleased with it. I just want to talk you through the difficulties, the complexities as it seemed that I had with them, but the basic stuff is the 120mm macro lens. I've got the case, filter holder on, and I've got a polarizer because some of these darker bits of weed reflect the light quite significantly because they're still a bit wet. Now, in terms of settings, it's on f16, and I did try to get it in one shot, but it really is very unlikely to be as sharp as I want it to be with just the one image. So I've done a focus stack, and it's a stack of 5 images at f16. Now I just want to show you why. If you look at the camera, it's pretty parallel to the subject, I'd say, but if I get you down here so you can have a real good look, the top of that leaf is significantly higher than the bottom of this weed here, so I need to try and capture all that in sharp focus, and very, very difficult to do with a single frame. So I'm just going to show you the get that sorted out. I'm going to show you the composition at the back of the camera now quickly. Hopefully that is visible. There we go, brighten that up a little bit. Try and get into position, not easy. But I framed it as I said I would. Just tried to get it into, oh gosh, yeah, there we go. Something like that. So there is how I framed it up pretty much. Nice amounts of weed coming in from all angles of the frame, and a really lovely composition, and that beautiful red of the rowan leaf really contrasts so nicely with all the weeds around it, all the different tones and textures of weeds. So I doubt I'm going to find anything else on this beach today that's going to trump that. I'm dead pleased with that shot. So like I say, f16, focus stack of 5, 100 ISO, 120mm macro lens, polarizer, rotated all the way around, so I'll put that on now. What a great little place. Well, that's it from me for today, folks. Images to come in just a second. Hopefully the next time you see me I'll be on Orkney, and I'm planning to do a little bit of landscape photography on there, all being well. So until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.